$10,000 for a camera. You're joking, right? No, actually I'm not. And technically, it's $11,898. But who's counting, right? This is how much the new Hasselblad X2D 100C camera costs with a 55mm f2.5 lens. And this is exactly why I decided to rent it and not buy it. My good friends at lensrentals.com got it in stock, and I was able to rent it at a much smaller percentage than the original price. And no, I'm not being sponsored or paid by them, but I do have an affiliate link in the description, and whatever you rent, I'll get a little bit of kickback from that, which helps support the channel. As a Fujifilm GFX 100 user, I was intrigued when this camera was launched. Very similar specs to the GFX 100S, but in a coveted Hasselblad body and a new line of lenses. Count me in. I was super impressed by the design of the camera, the sample images they included, and also the new line of lenses that they came out with. But I had a burning question. Is it really worth that much money? I set out on an adventure to St. George, Utah, with my good friend Tyler Rye to test it out. Tyler is an adventure elopement photographer specializing in portraiture and also an avid Fuji enthusiast. I knew he would be the man to help me test this camera out. Since this isn't a super formal review of the camera, I wanted to include the raw images from both cameras during the shoot so that you can be the judge of whether you think these cameras produce $10,000 images. I put the link in my bio so that you can download these images and edit them as you like. We put the 63mm f2.8 GFX lens up against the Hasselblad 55mm f2.5 lens. The Hasselblad is probably a truer definition of what a medium format camera should feel like, especially with their new lenses. This camera would be incredible in studio situations since it's a little bit slower and a bit heavier. Even the lenses feel a bit sharper, which would make for great high-budget ad campaigns. I bought the Fujifilm GFX 100S because it was the closest thing that mimicked medium format film. I started on my Pentax 6.7 and I wanted something to have that same depth of field feeling that only medium format gives you. And even with the Fujifilm lenses, I feel like it has a softer, more film-like look compared to the X2D 100C. Overall, I loved the feeling of the Hasselblad XCD 100C. It felt sexy, heavy, clean, simple. Everything about the design I loved a lot more than the GFX 100S. We had a bit of trouble figuring out the autofocus just because we didn't have a lot of time to work with the camera before we got it in the mail. I drove up the day of the shoot, so we didn't really get to test it out a lot, but we were able to figure it out and get some nice shots. Now, after comparing the shots, I do feel like the Hasselblad is slightly sharper, and that could just be the lens that we were using, but I will say that sharper isn't always better. I love the look of the GFX 100S because it resembles that softer film-like look.
Obviously, I'm more familiar with the 100S. I've been shooting it for over a year now, so everything like the button layouts, that all feels natural to me. So switching back and forth, I was easily able to move the focus and get the shots I wanted, versus it just felt really weird having to use the touch screen. And that might just be because I'm newer to touch screens. I've always, and shooting in live mode, I've always shot through the viewfinder. I definitely, if I'm being honest, I like the way the Hasselblad feels more in my hands, but the functionality, with my brief experience, is better on the 100S. I really liked the manual focus. At least with my brief experience, it had a circle that would show up and you would adjust the focus. And then when you had the subject in focus, the whole circle would light up green. So it made it easy to shoot. Manual focus, I guess we'll see if any of those are in focus, but it felt pretty easy. Pretty much like every review says, it feels really nice in your hand. It doesn't feel, I feel like some cameras, they feel not like a pro body, I guess. I don't know. But this one, you pick it up, you know you have a solid camera. The only reason why you couldn't use it for weddings, I mean, I definitely couldn't use it for sports. It's not a sports camera by any means.
Yeah.
You definitely had some blackout after each shot, which wouldn't be ideal if you were doing any kind of fast action. Like for me, shooting elopements, I didn't feel like I missed anything I was trying to get. The only issue I felt like I had was moving the focus around. But again, you shoot with it longer, I'm sure you pick it up.
And we've only had it for,
I think we were shooting
an hour.
Not even an hour.
Yeah.
And even in that short amount of time, I felt like my hit rate was really high.
Yeah. Overall, the Fujifilm GFX 100S is the one I would choose, and yes, I might be biased, but this is my opinion. At the end of the day, the Fujifilm setup is almost half the price of the Hasselblad X2D setup. If you're not really using this camera for high-budget ad campaigns or celebrity shoots, then the Fujifilm GFX 100S is plenty enough for you. Overall, Hasselblad made an incredible camera. Now, this is just my opinion, but in my position, I just cannot justify spending twice as much money to get a similar image quality from my camera. And this goes to show that you can create a great image from any camera that you choose. So for me, I would stick with the GFX 100S. But for you, it might be different. Maybe you're in an industry that requires a camera like the Hasselblad XCD 100C, and if so, I'm jealous of you because it's a sexy camera. I will say that the Hasselblad X2D 100C menu was so nice to use. It was very simple and felt very different from a lot of cameras, which helps it stand out a lot more. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you found value. If you didn't like the video, don't subscribe. If you did, go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate you guys. See you in the next one.